Hi, George here, and this time around we're going to be doing some Affinity Photo retouching. And it's not that difficult to go from this to this using just some basic tools. Now the first thing I'll do is to make a copy of the background, right click and duplicate. There we go, here's our new copy. I'll just push this to the top of the layer stack so we know where we're at. That's our background copy. Now the first thing, the easiest thing to do is just to clean up this outside area. So for that, to make it real simple, I'm going to be pulling in some guidelines. Just go over here to the Move tool, pull a guideline down right to the top of the picture right there. You can pull one down to the bottom of the picture. You can see I already have some guidelines in there from before. And then pull one in from the left side, right up against that edge, and pull one in from the right side. There we go. Just have your guidelines right like that. Now that we have guidelines in here, we can make a selection in here using the rectangular marquee tool. It's our top option. Just go right up here, upper corner. Just put your cursor right on top of that corner, and it should automatically snap to those guidelines. Just like that. There we go. So it snaps right in place. Now I want to be painting outside here, so let's go up to the View filter first, and I'm going to uncheck Show Guides so we're not seeing those corners. And then go up to the Select menu and come down to Invert Pixel Selection. And we now have just the outside area selected. Now it's real easy to fix that. I have my foreground color here set as white. If you don't have that, just take your sliders and push them all the way to the right-hand side over here. And that's white. Grab the paintbrush. Double check, sometimes the paintbrush will flip on you like that, so make sure you have it correct. When I flip that, you want to have the white being in front of whatever the other color is. So make sure that's in front. It could be either top or bottom, but make sure it's in front. And now all you have to do is just paint over this. There we go. And just paint clear down and across the bottom like that. And then up on the right-hand side. Make sure you go clear to the edge on both sides. And then across the top again. And that takes care of the outside of your picture. It's that easy to do. Now, if you're concerned about being up against the edges up here, just go up here to Select and Invert Pixel Selection. And we can now use this to protect the white border from getting anything on that. So it now limits everything to inside of that selection. Now you may want to save the selection while you're working in here. You don't need to have that selection active. But if you're working against the edges, you may want to have that selection. So let's go up here to Select. Go down to Save Selection. I'll save it as a spare channel. There we go. Go over to Channels. You know, see it right down here. It says Spare Channel. So I'll use the Control D key to deselect. And right here where it says Spare Channel, right click on this and Load to Pixel Selection. And there we go. There's your selection back again. So pretty easy to save a selection and then come back again to it. That's on the channels. Okay. Control D to deselect that. We can now work inside here. I'll scroll in. You have lots of options, and the tool you choose will depend upon where it is you're fixing and how well it's working for you. You can use any one or all of these tools. The first one I would start with, we over here, and the Inpainting brush tool. You get a fairly small brush size. This size, you can see right over here, this is 17 pixels on this image. Make sure your layer is selected, and then begin painting right over these cracks. And this tool works pretty well on cracks. It doesn't remove everything. Sometimes you won't see any effect at all on this. It'll just kind of not do anything. But a lot of times it will do a great job, like right there. So I would just go through and do what you can with this. You may have to go through a couple of times. And do as much as you can with this tool because it's so easy to use. If you're up against an edge here, just be very careful with that. You can come in right against the edge like that. But don't go over the edge. There we go. Now as I do this, you see there's a little bit of a lightness showing in there, so it's not quite perfect. You come back and show you how to take care of that in just a second. Now right up here, here's where you may want to bring back up that selection. So go over here to Channels, come down to your spare channel, right click, Load to Pixel Selection, go back over to Layers, click on your working layer again, and our selection is back in there, and I can now go right up against that edge and not worry about messing anything up on the outside. I'll use the right square bracket key. I'll bring my brush size up quite a ways like this. Then I'll come right down over that area that's a little bit odd on that coloration. And that should be enough to just even that tone out. There we go. And that's looking real nice. You can also use this for some of these background areas. Just come in here and clean things up a little bit. I have this one set on a hardness of 80 because I want to retain as much of this background texture as I can. If you begin to lose the texture back here, it begins to lose that appearance of being a photograph. You don't want to go too smooth back there. And just go through here and clean things up as much as you can. And that looks pretty nice. You can also use this tool down here if you want to. Let's bring our brush size way down. And we'll give it a shot here on some of these cracks in the dress. And just go through and work on those cracks. This is a great tool for this kind of a repair. And notice how it really keeps that texture in there, so you don't lose anything. Sometimes it'll do weird stuff. Sometimes it may just repeat itself and it won't remove something. That's okay. We can fix that with a different tool. But a real good tool for this kind of job. You also can't overlap like that into an area you want to protect. And it usually is okay. If it messes up like that, just use the Control-Z keyboard shortcut to back out of that and try it again. So this is a good tool for all these cracks in here in the dress. It's a good tool for these cracks over here in his shirt. Again, it may not get them all, but it should do a pretty good job. Just go through, make sure that you're taking out just the cracks and not the folds. You want to keep the folds in there and just remove the cracks. So a little bit of a job deciding what you want to remove, what you want to leave, but this should do a good job for you for the most part. Now it's not perfect again, but it will do a real nice clean job. Okay, so that's how I would approach just these big large areas of color, is by using the Inpainting tool and to see how far I can go with that one. And this is what I did for the sample image that I showed you at the start. Same exact technique. I spent, a while, half hour or so doing this, just getting things as clean as I could with this particular tool. Okay, next we have the face. What I would do with the face is I would start off by going over here and grab the blemish removal tool right here. It's a bit of a large size. I'll use the left square bracket key to bring that down. And then just come in and click on the blemishes and let Affinity Photo go in and just kind of clean those up. I may need to bring your brush size down a bit further and zoom in a bit more for this to do a really good job. There we go. And just click through and get some of those worst spots. I'm only caring about spots right now. If it doesn't take it out like that, then use your Control-Z key and just back up. You can try it a second time. Sometimes it'll do a better job on the second pass. And just go through here and take out all those spots as best you can. Notice that this is retaining all of the texture in there. We're not losing any texture, and that's what I want at this point. We can come in and soften things down. We can do that later on. Right now, I'm just caring about the spots that are in here, just removing as many of these spots as I can, just one spot at a time. You also can come in with this tool and you can brush a little bit, but it's not very good at doing that. It's better if it comes in and just clicks in individual spots. And take your time with this and work your way around and take out as many of those spots as you can. Now this is also a JPEG compression. If I zoom up here to the head, you can see how we have these kind of squares going on in here. That's in here from the JPEG compression. And to fix that, we'll have to move on to our next tool. But I would continue with this. You might want to try up here the Inpainting tool again. Try a little bit of this inside of the hair. Up in here, you can go a little softer if you want to on that. But again, if you go softer on the tool, it might come in and lose some of the texture. Now, it didn't work too well right here. Control-Z to back out of that one. There's a little bit of an okay job in here. Again, just real short little movements on this. Getting some of those lines in. We don't want to take out anything more than we have to at this point. Just kind of clean things up. Again, this is the Inpainting tool right now. And just working around and trying to get as much of those little spots as we can. And slowly cleaning up the image, making it look a lot nicer. Now, once you have a pretty good, pretty stable look to it like I have right now, this is looking pretty good, we can switch over to another tool. Just a little more right across in here. There we go. Let's now switch over here and grab the Healing Brush tool. And on this one, you click into an area like right here, hold the Alt key down and click, and then move over here, and I'm copying from this place over to this place, and it's going to automatically adjust the values for me. So if you're in a lighter area, it'll adjust that. You don't get an odd look in there. And this does a real nice job at that. See, I was in a light area here into a darker area, and it still worked out just fine. Now notice in here, this is beginning to do a little bit of smoothing in here. And at this point, that's fine. It's not doing too much, but it's doing just a little bit. And it's a matter of coming in here and just going over the whole face just a little bit at a time, copying from one spot that you already like, where you have some nice smoothness, and then just working your way along. Notice I'm clicking in here each time, Alt and click right here, and then coming over here. So I'm not getting too far away from what I'm fixing. And I'm not doing too much of a big fix. I'm not trying to fix any large areas with big brush strokes. I'm doing small strokes and just working my way around, taking the time to get a nice clean job. And you see how nice that's looking up there, real nice and clean. And that's what you want. And just work your way around. Try to stay away from anything that has any real amount of detail in there, because this can soften things down a bit. We don't want to have too much softening. Just enough so it looks good, but we want to retain some of the texture in there where it begins looking plasticky. You don't want a plastic look. Just work your way around like this and slowly clean up the whole face with this tool, and you'll end up with a real nice clean job. Now I went too far on that one. Control Z to back out of that. There we go. So if I back out now, you can see how nice that looks. Looks real nice and clean. You can also use this tool up in the hair. It does a pretty nice job up in the hair. So you find a spot that's close in value, and then just copy that over. Now the nice thing about this tool is that it tries to adjust your values to match. So it shouldn't do too much to mess things up on you. Okay, another real difficult spot right here is the eye. Now this bit here, this can be done with this same tool. Let's just come down here, we'll get that. If you're really careful on the eyebrow, you can try to get that fixed like that. Again, just a tap right here, that's pretty good. I can come over here and get just this little bit right there. And it's good for things like over in here, that big green spot, that goes away pretty nicely with this tool. You need to come back a few times to get rid of all that green that's showing up in there. But just like we did on the other face, just take your time, do little movements and little fixes, and you should be okay. Work from a clean area that you've cleaned previously and work into an area that needs to be cleaned up. And you should get a nice clean job this way. Again, doing a photo repair, retouch, it takes time. Okay, let's take a look at this eye down here. This is a special case, and we have harder edges in here. So I'll be switching over here to the clone stamp tool for this one. I'm a real small brush, as you can see. I have my hardness set at 0, but we're doing just little pieces. So I'll go right over here, hold the Alt key down, grab that, and move it over here, and just fill that in. Just a little more like that. Doing just very small areas. A little bit over here, this, and from right over here, right to there. Just little small fixes, little small moves. And this with the dark in here, and we'll bring that in. Here we go. Don't get rid of the highlight right there. That's important to leave. Same over here in that eye. We back out and pretty good. You maybe go a little harder on the edge up in here. Let's bring our hardness up. Bring our brush size down a little bit. Like that. I'll come right down here. And I'm just going to get just along that edge right there. Make that look harder. Okay, there we go. That's fixed. So again, as you can see, pretty easy to do, but it just takes attention to detail to make it work. And Control 0 to recenter our picture. So there you go. That is the approach to doing a photo retouch like this. You can see how well it's working out. And again, it just takes some time, but give this thing a try. It's a good place to try different techniques, especially these creases down here and the cracks and so forth. Try the different photo retouch tools on these, see how the different tools work for you, and you'll begin to develop your own style for cleaning up a photo like this. But basically, you'll be using for real fine detail the clone brush tool right here for larger areas and lines. Come over here and use the Inpainting brush tool. It's pretty good for spots that need cleaning up. The blemish removal tool. And for a more advanced clone brush, you want to use the healing brush which not only copies the area over, but it also adjusts the value at the same time. Really good tool for working on faces. Let's see how this looks. I use Control D to deselect that selection in there. There we go. Hide that. There's the original. And here's our cleaned up. Looking much, much better, as you can see, without that much actual work going into it. It's just a bit of time, but it's not that hard to do. And I'll put a link for the sample image in the description. If you want to learn a lot more about how to use Affinity Photo, the best way to do that is with my complete training course. I'll put a link for that in the description as well. And there I show you how to use all the tools, all the menus, all the panels, everything. It's the best place to learn Affinity Photo. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and give this video a like. And if you haven't already subscribed, also hit that subscribe button. And when you do, hit that bell icon for notifications of my new videos. I'm doing new videos all the time. And I'll see you next time.